Franklin and the Wonder by Paulette Bourgeois and Brenda Clark. Franklin and his friends liked going to school. Their teacher, Mr. Owl, helped them learn to read and write. He taught them math and science and art. One day, Mr. Owl took the class outside so they could learn about nature. In the schoolyard, the students found a spider web. "What are these webs made out of?" asked Franklin. "Spiders spin their webs out of long strands of silk," said Mr. Owl. "This web is just one example of the wonders of nature all around us." "Coolio," said Franklin. "For our next project, I'd like everyone to find a wonder of nature to show the class," said Mr. Owl. "What's a wonder of nature?" asked Goose. "It's anything wonderful, amazing, or beautiful in nature," said Mr. Owl. "Oh, like a rainbow," said Goose. "Or a sunset," added Snail. "Exactly," said Mr. Owl. Mr. Owl paired everyone up. Franklin was paired with Rabbit. "Remember," added Mr. Owl, "each partner will speak about the wonder and be ready to answer questions." Rabbit gulped. "Speak in front of everyone?" "Come on, Rabbit," said Franklin. He couldn't wait to get started. But Rabbit wasn't so eager. Franklin and Rabbit walked into the woods. They found a bush with a strange green object hanging from a branch. "Neat, neat, neat," said Rabbit. "What do you think it is?" asked Franklin. "Something you can talk about in front of the class," said Rabbit nervously. "I think we found a wonder of nature," said Franklin, carefully breaking off the branch. "Maybe Aunt T will know what it is." Franklin and Rabbit ran to Aunt T's house. Inside, Mr. Mole was having his portrait painted. "Hey, what do you have there?" asked Aunt T. "We were looking at wonders of nature to show the class and found this. Do you know what it is?" asked Franklin. "I certainly do," said Mr. Mole. "It's a chrysalis." "What's a chrysalis?" asked Franklin. "Well, a chrysalis is like a little bed that a caterpillar makes for himself," said Mr. Mole. "He goes inside for a time, and when he comes out again, he turns into a butterfly. Just like those butterflies in the garden," said Auntie, pointing to the ones outside the window. "That is the best wonder of nature ever," said Franklin. "Come on, Rabbit, let's get to work on our show and tell." On the day of the presentations, Franklin and Rabbit listened as the other students talked about the wonders. But when it was finally their turn, Rabbit was nowhere to be found. Franklin searched everywhere. At last, he found Rabbit on the swings. "Why did you leave before show and tell?" asked Franklin. "Because I was afraid," said Rabbit. "Afraid of what?" asked Franklin. "Of talking in front of the class. I'm afraid everyone will laugh at me." Franklin thought for a moment. "Sometimes when I'm scared, practicing what scares me helps." But Rabbit was too scared to practice talking in front of anyone. That gave Franklin an idea. Franklin took Rabbit to Aunt T's house. The three of them painted pictures of everyone in the class. Then Rabbit practiced speaking to the paintings. Later that day, Franklin and Rabbit did their show and tell. Just as they were finishing, the chrysalis began to move. It began to shake. Suddenly, a butterfly emerged and flew into the sky. Everyone in the class clapped. "Excellent," said Mr. Owl. Rabbit let out a big sigh of relief. "You did great," Franklin told Rabbit. "Thanks, Franklin," said Rabbit. "I think we both did great."